Let's start today's newspaper. Now, the first thing, Zakir Hussain, the maestro from India, the classical tabla player, has recently died. So there are three, four news with respect to him. First, with respect to a couple of obituaries that are there. One is a couple of them are there on the editorial page, and then the disease that he suffered from is also there on the explain page. So you can do that, but typically you should know that what gharana he comes from, and his father was also an ustad, and what kind of music did he introduce into India, and basically tabla was always before him. It used to be a side instrument, and in the sense of being a person who accompanies someone else, but he basically brought tabla to the forefront, and that is his contribution to music. So you should read about his background, his where he comes from, and his contribution to Indian culture and music. Then similarly, there's another news with respect to India and China hold special representative meeting tomorrow. Now you should be aware about India-China relationship and how we have been diplomatically we've been able to deal with the 2020 issues. So these are the new issues, and there are certain legacy issues, and what has been the our border consultation mechanism. So there are different border consultation mechanisms that are there. One is at the diplomatic level, the other is at the armed forces level. So what are these talks, and how we've been able to engage with China again, and then the signaling back to our original pre 2020 positions. That has been the issue, and also you need to know the friction points that are there on both sides of the border, whether it's the Jammu and Kashmir side or the eastern side, the eastern frontier, which is the Arunachal side. So those friction points you should be aware about. Another thing that you should that we've been witnessing, we had talked about this yesterday as well, that the Sri Lankan president is on his first state visit to India, and he's been talking about the fact that we want to play as good neighbors, and we want to play into that thing of neighborhood first, and the ethos of Sagar as well. And then he's openly said that we want to have a free and safe Indian Ocean region. This especially comes in the context of the fact that everyone around us is basically falling away, whether it's Myanmar, which has significant basis, which has given significant basis to China, or it's Maldives, or in case of Sri Lanka as well, and Bangladesh in the recent few days have also turned kind of anti or agnostic to India as well. So these are few issues that you should develop your thought into. Now I'm quickly going to the directly to the meat of the paper, which is thank you Ustad. As I told you that this article talks about him, and you can use his examples, maybe take a note of it, sometime in ethics, maybe you can put it out, that how humble he was, despite the kind of fame that he had received, and the background of it with respect to how he had developed his art and craft is something mentioned here. So these two articles is something that you can probably read with respect to Zakir Hussain, Ustad Zakir Hussain. Now the important part of the paper. Now there are two articles on inequality. Niti, you're going for the interview, so you could be asked a question on inequality, especially coming from Piketty. Now we had discussed this yesterday as well. Now what Piketty is arguing for is that India could fall into a low productivity trap. Now there's a difference between a low income trap and a low productivity trap. Now where he says the low productivity trap is that that the fact that people in India are not getting enough education, enough healthcare, and the inequality is increasing. And because the inequality is increasing and they are not able to get the best available social infrastructure, the best available human infrastructure is not available to them. Therefore, large chunk of people, 1 billion I'm going to link it to this article as well. We are soon going to have 1 billion people, 1.04 billion people as the working force. And if they are not healthy, if they are not skilled, if they are if we are if we are into a very inequitous country where only the top 10% do well, the bottom 90% don't do well, then all of these 90% of the workforce that we have will be trapped into a low productivity sector, and that is called as low productivity trap. And that is already been seen, that if you see certain, there are certain so to say indicators to suggest that how we are doing well in our economy. So this is something that I'm going to actually talk today at IIP as well, that what are the kind of indicators that we need to look at. So some of the indicators that we need to see is FMCG products. So poor basically consume these FMCG products, and whether their consumption is going fast or slow. Two wheelers, microfinance companies, so all of them basically tells you the kind of where we exactly are as a country. So for example, if more people, let me give you an example of this. If more people are going to Muthoot loan, that signifies that there is some kind of crisis that is there. Only in times of crisis you will pawn your gold and then you will take money. So these are all indicators of how well the economy is doing at the bottom of the pyramid. So we need to see that India suffers from this lack of education, health, nutrition, sanitation facilities, which make them less productive. And incomes are ultimately a function of your productivity. And if bulk of the workforce is under this low productivity trap, then I mean, you're not going to challenge, and you're not going to challenge anyone in the world. And that is where he compares us to China as well, that for every analysis that you want to do, you compare yourself to China and see that where you exactly are at the current moment, and where China was at the same level of GDP that you are right now. So and one another proposition that he says is that one way to get out of it, in fact he suggests couple of ways, is that tax the rich. Now taxing the rich is a very a peculiar kind of a suggestion, because I mean, it could also lead to flight of capital from India. But what he says is that if you see the numbers, if you see the macro numbers, that India collects only, India tax revenue to its GDP is just 13%, 12-13%, which is at a very low scale if you compare it to any advanced country, for which it is say 20%, 30% or 40%, usually at 40% as well. So if you don't have the income, then how will you be able to support your population with these basic amenities? So he basically says that if low tax regime was to be a recipe for growth, then India would already be a very high growth economy, because as a percentage of GDP we don't have much this thing. So the only solution that he suggests is that we should also not just the flow of income, we also should tax the stock of income. So basically the idea of wealthy people. So wealthy people, when we say people are wealthy like Elon Musk, it's a notional wealth, because most of their wealth is in form of shares, which is unrealized shares. So can you actually tax that? That is a basic problem that one can envisage when we are thinking about instituting a wealth tax on using stocks. And then you have another, so I've basically covered two articles. There's another article on the economy page, which is an interview, one-to-one interview with Thomas Piketty. So I've covered that part as well. Now, a crisis in making. Now, what does this article say? So it's written by a former secretary of Government of India, and she basically gives a lot of data with respect to what is happening in India right now. And basically we have around 67% of our population which is in the demographic working age group population, and in absolute numbers again India is basically largest workforce in the world. But at the same point of time again, I mean we can only hit the target of that $7 trillion by 2030 if we have high productivity in science, technology, healthcare, all these areas. So I mean everything that Piketty is saying is being talked about here as well. But the major issues that which where you can see that this is where India is facing problems, and why India is falling into that low productivity trap is if you see the National Family Health Survey 5. Now these numbers should there be on your tip, especially if you're appearing for the interview. So if you see the National Family Health Survey 5, I mean the actual level of schooling and the malnutrition level. So schooling is just 50% of men and 40% of women have completed 10 years of schooling, which shows that schooling is poor. Then in terms of malnutrition, 35% of children under 5 are stunted. 67 are actually are suffering from anemia. 50% of women in India are suffering from anemia, and there is lack of nutritional security in India. So this basically, and it's being shown in World Hunger Index and all kinds of these parameters and world rankings. We are quite far behind. When it comes to even education, the ASER report talks about how we are able to achieve the enrollment ratios, but we have not been able to translate our enrollment into our actual learning outcomes. And we are now creating a huge bulge of unemployment and skill gap in our country. So all of these are major challenges, and if we want to actually become that powerhouse by 2047, then we need to resolve all these issues, and some of them are actually mentioned by Thomas Piketty as well. So you should read this in combination with that article. Then there is this. Let me take this article first. Scholars Without Borders. It's a beautiful headline to this particular article. Now, what happens is that all of you have been students of universities. Now, each particular university subscribes to different kinds of softwares. Like for example, the software that I am working on. Like let me just show you that software. So the software that I am working on, this CMI Economic Outlook software, is extremely expensive. It costs around 3.5 lakh rupees a year. So now a university has some colleges have taken this software, like SRCC and Ramanujan, and even the university Delhi School of Economics had taken this. But what if the entire government of India takes the subscription and then gives it to every possible institution? Now this is one example. When it comes to higher education, you must have seen that there are readings and there are papers that you need to read, and all of them are written in these scholarly magazines, and these scholarly magazines are extremely expensive. So the access to this education, high class education, frontier end education, is basically limited until unless you subscribe to these all these journals and stuff. So what government of India has done is that we have fragmentations that are there. IITs are doing well, tier 2 and tier 3 colleges are not doing well, they don't have access, and if they don't have access, they'll not be able to do that research well. So for that purpose, what we have done is that we are going to spend significant amount of money and buy these 13,000 e-journals and common journals, and approximately 2,400 institutions will get all the access to these journals, so that we are able to do well in the STEM education and consolidate our resources, and then create basically scholars without borders, in the sense their borders are notionally being talked about in terms of college borders and university borders. So a beautiful, beautiful article that you can read, and you should be aware of what is happening with respect to this. Then there is again, this is not very important from the point of view of say the political point of view, but a question that you should ask yourself, and this is relevant for the interviews as well, because this is the 75th anniversary of the Constitution. Now, a question can come whether the Constitution serves as a guardian of democratic values, or is it a tool of political convenience by the parties in power and the opposition. So we have often said that the Constitution is a living document, and we should all we should all adhere to constitutional values, and both the opposition and then the treasury benches are basically shouting at each other these days in parliament, and talking about the same issue of constitutionalism, and whether constitutionalism in India is declining or not. So but the idea is that, see, in the historical context, the Constitutional Assembly deliberately had very different kinds of leaders. So we had leaders from different worldview. We had parties we had basically members from opposition parties as well, because we wanted to have a worldview, and from minority sections as well. So and because there were different ideological inclinations that were there in the Constitution, therefore what we had is a very diverse and kind of a constitution which has shown its diversity in terms of its social, economic, and political ethos. But at the same point of time, the Constitution is also a living document, because it should also mirror the reality of the day, and it should be able you should be able to adapt to the Constitution to the needs of the hour, while maintaining the morality of the Constitution, the basic ethos of the Constitution, or what we call as the basic spirit or the basic structure of the Constitution. Now, so there's a lot of debate that is being talked about here. You can read about these debates, and there are a lot of ideological. There's a lot of role of ideology in the Constitution, because people come from different ideology. There is a far right ideology, there is a centrist ideology, there is a left ideology. Depend on where you are, in which ideology you come from, you will see the Constitution from that angle. For someone who's you can think of Constitution as centralization versus federalism. You can also think about the fact that whether you should have religious representation in our system or not. So these are basically things that are there, that are ideological, and we need to have a debate on them. But at the same point of time, the political differences in ideology should not be the reason for animosity. We should sit together and debate about these things, and discuss about these things, and create a synthesis, rather than just an obstructionism in the parliament where nothing moves. So both the articles basically talk about a similar kind of a pattern. You can read them, but again, word of caution, they are very political in nature. You should know the essence of it, rather than the politics side of it. Then the next news, had no plans to leave Syria, but evacuated by Russians. So this is the first address by Bashar al-Assad, the ousted president of Syria, and we've talked about this yesterday as well, that the Islamist group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham has basically got into has basically claimed the government there, and there is this new leader. So you should know the name of the party. HTS is basically there, and then you should also know the name of the new a person which is the new administration, the head of the administration, which is Ahmed Al Shara. And we had talked about this yesterday. What are the implications? Why did this happen? And what are the implications on the entire world and the Middle East because of the change of guard in Syria? Then another setback to Justin Trudeau. Basically, there was this comic kind of a meme that Donald Trump had shared that we are going to impose 25% tariff on Canada, and if they want to evade that tariff, then become the 51st state of US. So, and you would have probably seen Elon Musk also wearing a T-shirt of Canada. Just as a banter. So you can probably see those things, and if you're there on Twitter, then Elon Musk is always fun. So I mean, if you don't follow him, then do that. You will get a lot of news about what is happening throughout the world. Then in fact, I recommend, among all the social media tools that you might have at your disposal, Twitter is something that you would find very interesting. Then Canada's finance minister has resigned, basically because of the fact that there is how to handle the 25% tariff hike which Donald Trump is saying that he will impose on Canada. So this is another issue. Then German Parliament has voted against Scholz in the vote, or in the confidence vote, and it was basically a tripartite or a three-party coalition that was there, which Scholz was heading, and one of the parties, Free Democrats, had basically quit, and leaving Social Democrats and Greens without the majority, and now the new election was supposed to happen in by February of 2025. At the same point of time, you should also note that Germany is going through a serious economic turmoil, in the sense that their growth rates have not is not picking up. EU, which has traditionally been led by Germany, seems quite weak right now. Then UNIS celebrates the end of autocratic government on Victory Day. Maybe you can read this particular article as well. Then services export, goods for the first time in 2024, merchandise deficit at record high. Now this is something that you should be aware about, that what is happening in the field of economics now. For this year it is the first time that services export have increased, and merchandise and more than that, of merchandise or goods exports. Now there has been a trend of weak good exports, because of the fact that the global demand of by major Western markets is going down, and the shipping costs have increased as well. So software doesn't need any shipping costs, but these physical goods do need. And because of the Red Sea crisis, the what is happening in the Red Sea, in the entire region, it has impacted the cost of transportation. And apart from that, since this is a marriage season, and this is the last part of our quarter, and we had Diwali in between as well, Dhanteras. So therefore the import of gold and import of all these things are also increased, and that's why we are seeing record trade deficit as well. And the way that the way that we are moving, it is said that the services export might might be more than the merchandise export by 2030, FY 2030. And I've already told you that the current account deficit is at its worst right now. It had increased by 28% year on year recently, as if you compare November of 2024 to November of 2023. So you should be aware of what Y on Y is. People from economics would know, but others should also know what is the meaning on Y on Y. Then I've already explained you low productivity trap, inability to expand tax base risk if top 500 on the richest are not taxed at a higher rate. So I've already talked up to you about all of this. It's a very very important article, very very good article. Please read it. Then another thing that you might be asked or could be asked in prelims and in mains and in interview is from the prelims point of view, that what are write-offs and what are NPAs and all of this. But from the mains and interview point of view, you should be aware of the fact that Indian banks have continuously been writing off loans. Now, what is a write-off? Now, first, a loan becomes a default, and when it becomes a default for 90 days, it becomes an NPA. But NPA is a major problem because that shows poor health on the side of the bank, and it is an asset and it's not paying. So you need to do a lot of provisioning for it. So you need to safeguard assets, so that you know that but you need to save more money because of the fact that there is NPA in your books. So what the banks have started doing in the last few years is that they go for a write-off. Now, when you go for a write-off, basically you say that we are not able to recover money out of this, and we are putting it as a loss. So once you put it as a loss, is it basically goes away from your this thing away from your balance sheet, and your balance sheet looks clean. But what has happened in the last few years, in the last in the last 5 years, we have written off around 10 lakh crore worth of loans, and out of that 10 lakh crore, the banks have been able to only kind of recover 1.85 or 2 lakh crore. So our recovery rate is around 18, 19 or 20%, which is a very bad state, and this is now becoming a tool to basically clean the banks. So you can be asked that whether the bank's balance sheet are really clean, or is it because of the write-offs that they have made to look clean. So that is a debate that you can kind of ask yourself and basically present while answering such questions. So this is basically, even when they are written off, they are used as, they are written as advance under collection. Recovery can take on a number of years even after that. So this is the article that you need to read. Then maybe read SEBI board may overhaul IPO on IPOs. This is typically for interviews. That what we have seen is that we have seen a huge traction under SME IPOs. Now, one of the key figures to see that why SMEs have become so I mean the IPOs of SMEs have become so powerful and so attractive is because you can easily manipulate this market and then speculate and earn good amount of money. So this has become a major concern for SEBI, and what it is planning to do is that, and how is it visible, by the way? The applicant to allotted, if 5 people applied, or if one person applied, then how many were allotted. So this applicant to allotted investor ratio basically tells you that if 1% was allotted a share, then how many people had actually applied for that IPO. So that ratio was 4. So if 1% got it, then 4 people had applied for the IPO. That basically had gone to 245 times that surge. So basically now 240, if one person has got it, then 245 people have applied for it. So see the massive increase in the SME sector for the IPOs, and that is a major concern, which shows that we need to tighten our regulatory norms, and SEBI is planning to tighten these regulatory norms with respect to a number of things. For example, unpublished price sensitive information, and regulation for angel funds as well. So read about this for your interview. It's a very very important article. Then religion, and let's talk about religion and reservation. Now there has been a debate whether, because of the fact that Allahabad High Court had basically stuck down reservations for some Muslim communities under OBC quota, and also the fact that there is another case which is there where a Christian woman was denied SC certificate because of her religious affiliation. Now religion, the idea of religion and reservation is something that we have been dealing with for quite some time, and the Indra Swani judgment has basically been the landmark case in this particular area. And basically we had talked about the fact that Muslim communities have already been have been included in the OBC category, both at the central and the state levels, and it is not based on religious factor, it is based on socio-economic backwardness. And the Indra Swani judgment has says that OBC reservations are valid, and they should be based on reservation, they should be based on backwardness and not on religion. But when you talk about SCs, the reservation of SCs, it is only there for Hindus, and then it was extended to Sikhs and Buddhists as well. But the presidential order of 1950 basically only talks about that of Hindus only, but then later expanded to others. Later expanded to Sikhs and Buddhists. Now, the issue, the key issue here lies with the fact that whether people from Islam and Christianity who basically changed, basically who from after being an Hindu converted to Islam or Christianity, will they be excluded from the SC list despite the socio-economic indicators? And in fact, the Rangnath Mishra Commission basically had also recommended. See, this Rangnath Mishra had also recommended that this caste-based discrimination is not just in Hinduism, Sikhs and Buddhists. It is also there in Dalit Christians and in Dalit Muslims as well. So this reservation should extend to them, and the 2007 Sachar committee report had basically said that there is widespread backwardness in Muslims, and which is also their their representation in the education and jobs is also less. So these are the questions that needs to be answered by the Supreme Court in this. Then you can read about idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, which led to Zakir Hussein's death, and then the Constitutional Assembly debate between Ambedkar and Munshi on views on UCC. Please read it on your own. I'm running out of time. So this is about it, folks. Plan your day well, and also if you're going for the interview, make sure that you do the the editorials of Hindu as well as Business Standard. So with this, I wrap up the day. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.